Tailspin, showing what the world can't see. Some come to laugh, some come to learn, all come to feel that fire burn. When the space goes live, you can hear that tone. You're never alone. The power on fire burn and taper down on alone. Bev on X tonight. When Mav at 7, the vibe feels right. Type media where truth ignites the spark. Yeah, we light up the dark. Best space on X. Oh, yeah, the best space on X. The best space on X. The best space on X. All crypto storms and cosmic skies, disclosure talk and open eyes. They break it down and spin it real tight. Open minds and hearts collide. When the mic drops, we live worldwide. You can feel that energy tonight. Don't need a script, don't need the lies, just a space where the truth will rise. When Mav says go, the crowd ignites, the night comes alive. Drop on Mavs tonight. When Mav at 7, the run feels right. Type media where truth ignites the spark. Yeah, we light up the dark. Best space on X. Oh, yeah, the best space on X. Live on X tonight. When Mav at 7, the vibe feels right. Type media where truth ignites the spark. Yeah, we light up the dark. Best space on X. Oh, yeah, the best space on X. Live on X tonight. With Mav at 7, the stars align. Type media, the fire never rests. We're the best of the best of the best of the best space on X. The best space on X.
What do you, because, okay, so they got you on camera on the street. Then when you get to the store, they still got you on camera, but then you get to the store and then the store got you on camera. Um, and I'm pretty sure they're going to put these flock cameras up on the stores as well for like the use that there's, you know what, if they were used for what, if they were being used how they were intended to be used, that would be cool. But we know it's not.
No, you're right. And then it's like, you bring up a good point. Who owns the data? Are they able to share it? Who's buying it? What are they doing with it? Um, is it something that like eventually down the line insurance companies are going to use, right? Um, man, what happens if this data is public data, right? Let's say Goose is cheating on his wife. Would his attorney be allowed to track and find out where all his everywhere his car went, showing that he went to his girlfriend's house? I mean, what's the line, right? We need some type of information, right? Because is this private information? Is this public information? Can you FOIA request this? Um, and then how do you provide privacy, right? So I know when I worked uh, with the state of New Jersey, with the Department of Transportation, we had traffic cameras. Well, we would delete all the footage in 7 days. So you couldn't go back like 4 months. Part of it was, a storage issue. But the other part was kind of about privacy, right? So if there was an accident or something like that, we might tell law enforcement agency, look, we did have it. We did catch that on film. You could put a FOIA request in, and it wasn't really official for law enforcement with a criminal investigation. Um, and then we'd be able to at least burn a copy of it and then give it to them. But how long is this data kept? Is this something that's going to be kept for 10, 20, 30 years? And what's the purpose of that, right? Um, Gets pretty scary, pretty creepy, and there was definitely lost too on roadway traffic cams. Like, we had and I didn't really notice, until I was a couple years in. Um, FHWA requires that the traffic cameras can only be pointed on, um, department right of way, right? So, if you had a business or a home or things like that, you couldn't look into their property or look in like a car dealership, you couldn't look in the car dealership, or the camera had to be faced on the roadway. Um, it couldn't be used for anything else. Now we did run into a situation again, I think this was like 2004. That was the height of, you know, terrorist activity and alerts and monitoring. A lot of you guys are younger. It was a daily thing. Like we would have to do like a security check on all drawbridges on the half hour, to make sure they were okay, and call them and be like, "Yo, you're supposed to call in. Are you good?" And then they would have like a code or password to let us know it was actually them. Um, so we had a couple car dealerships, um, and in a city area that were getting vandalized by eco terrorists. So I was put on a task force with FBI, trying to figure out how we could catch this eco terrorist. They were going around burning SUVs. So they were like, they're gas guzzlers. So they would go in a dealership and they would burn them, they would torch them, they would break the windows out, they would vandalize them, you know, shit like that. So they were asking if they could use the traffic cameras. I said, well, technically, no. I mean, there's no law. There's recommendations and requirements from FHWA that the camera had to be facing the roadway. And then they had a few attorneys there and they said, well, okay, we're looking through the criteria, but if you, it Yeah, I guess we could probably do that. We did, and we ended up catching these eco terrorists. Um, but that was like an iffy thing, right? So that was like kind of on a borderline of capabilities and what we were allowed to do. Um, but yeah, we were able to catch these individuals. Um, but we also had the ability to take those cameras off live feeds. Um, so if there was a serious accident or something like that, we're trying to zoom in to figure out what information we can relay to the first responder agency that's nearest to it responding, so we can kind of give them a heads up on what they're going to be pulling up on. We would take those cameras offline because we didn't want those videos going out public on our public webpage, and then we're able to zoom in and see different things that were going on. But these things, uh, as far as I know, there's no government oversight on them, and what they're capable of. And like you said, Goose, who are they selling this information? Who are they selling it to? I mean, I see pros to it, but I see a lot of cons to it. I mean, look at all the poor criminals. How do you get away with anything nowadays, right? I mean, you go back into the 70s, you're like, how did people even get caught? Like, you had to have fingerprints, just wear gloves. There are no cameras, there's nothing, right? There's no GPS. Now you can't even do anything, right? I don't even know how criminals even exist now because it's like almost impossible to be a criminal, right?
So something just happened
Mhm.
recently, Mav, and it's one of those things where like I think the government has the best spy agency in the world, but we basically sign it over to them because all of us have clicked through the terms and service without reading them, and the majority of things, like you said, we're already being tracked by whatever it is. You know, at pretty much every single app on our phone that are private companies. But the thing is, a lot of these private companies, there's no chance in a million years that they don't have their top heads of security in the biggest closed door meetings in DC. You know, these are people where it's like, oh, you shake our hand, we shake yours. And some of their technology is also something where I really question if their security technology is not also borrowed from the government, and they might say it's doing it for the safety of their users. But there was just a case recently where some girl in a cosmetology program was in the bathroom and she was sending private Snapchats to a friend. And she just said something along the lines of, I forget what she said word for word, but I think it was like, this place has me at the end of it. They're lucky I wasn't going crazy to blow this whole place up, or something like that. And before she even left the bathroom, the FBI was alerted, and FBI talked to local law enforcement, and they had agents at her school before she even left the bathroom. So it's like one of those things where, like, the government, were they the ones really spying on the device? No, but they definitely have handshake deals to where they are made aware very quickly of all these private information. You know, it's like, so is it the government's or is it the private information? It's both. Um, does that make sense?
No, no, it definitely makes sense. But I think there's a difference between that, right? Is there is a terms of service, and we're just too lazy to read it. And even if you did read it, you need an attorney to explain exactly what all this stuff means. This stuff is just out on the roadway.
Well, isn't it
There's no
technically
terms, right?
interoperable agencies? So, like, you guys are talking about Easy Pass, right?
No, no, talking about the flock cameras.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Well, I know that a lot of the cameras that are on the roadways now, that's some way they're getting around it. If anybody's noticed, there's more and more of the toll cameras, even if they're not giving you tolls at each one of those locations, they're scanning and they're taking video. And that's something where I've looked that up before as well. They're not technically government agencies, they're interstate operable agency collaborations between like 30 to 40 different groups. So it's a really big problem where people are saying that, like, well, this is the government. Like, no, we're not really the government, but I mean, you kind of are. You know, like, you're working with local and state and Department of Transportation and all those kinds of things. So it's one of those things where it's like they might not be under the list of government agencies, but like they really kind of are. So I wouldn't be surprised where if people put a big enough fuss about the traffic cams up, then they'll just say, okay, we won't do it, and then we'll just have more and more easy pass cameras, which won't fall under the same purview.
Well, the difference with like the Easy Pass, you're right. There's agreements amongst different states to share it. One was especially people that travel a lot and you travel like a tri-state area. Now you need three different easy passes, right? So they try to make a deal on, you know, as far as getting payment for the easy pass. I know some refuse to. I know I think it's changed now, but originally like Florida didn't want to be part with New Jersey, New York, and Delaware and Pennsylvania because if there was a toll violation, no one was going to there wasn't going to put a warrant out for your arrest to send you to Florida because it would cost more to to transport you down for a $20 ticket, right? For a toll violation. So like, no, we're going to opt out of that because they didn't want to sign an agreement to enforce it. Um, Now you do have, I don't know if so much cameras now. Now I've noticed they do. Back about 10 years ago, like in New Jersey, there were to grab your license plate number at the toll booth if you violated the toll, but you had to transpond readers. So if you have the Sun Pass, the Easy Pass, right, we would use the signal from those devices to get travel times. So basically, they knew exactly, like if you're driving down like the turnpike, um, we knew exactly how fast you were going by the time uh, when you entered the toll road and when you get off the toll road. So technically, if they know if you're going the speed limit, which is 65, and it should take you an hour and a half, and you got there in an hour, they know you were speeding, right? So technically, they could write you a ticket, but they put in there that that's not what the purpose of it was, so they can't enforce that. And I think there had something to do with a law enforcement office would actually have to observe you speeding. They can't just go by GPS travel time or transponder times. But they did add additional transponder readers on the roadway. So like if you'll notice it if you travel on any interstate, and they do have these on state roads as well. You go underneath the sign structure and you'll see those. It looks like kind of looks like a Starlink, right? Facing down towards the road. That's a transponder reader. So they're using that to get travel time. So they'll grab your information there from your Easy Pass, and then it shoots the information up to one that's further down the road, like a mile or so. You hit that, so now they know what the traffic flow on that roadway is just by using that tech. They also use Bluetooth. We've been using Bluetooth back since 2006. So along like certain roadways on interstates or even on some arterial roadways, they'll attach them to a telephone pole. Same theory. What it'll do is it picks up your Bluetooth, it assigns it a number, and then when you get about a mile or so down the road, it it sends a signal to your Bluetooth again, and it picks up the number that it got before, and we got travel times. Now that information was also sold to all the news agencies. So when you're watching like rush hour news, and it's like this section's moving good, it's green. This section's yellow. This section's red. That's where they got all that information from.
That's not coming from Google Maps and stuff, and iMaps, Apple
It
Maps.
is, but they're buying data. They're buying it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just more and more. I definitely think that if we did make some law where we can't have the traffic cams, I think that they'll figure out a way to do it privately with different corporations and just say that's the same thing, but then they'll just buy the data from, the different applications or whatever. But also, so then what you're saying is they can't get my picture. So I had a toll violation recently where I had my car and I forgot that I was like in a different state. And I thought that my reader worked in the other state, and they sent me a whole packet of all these different pictures of my car, the front, the back, with the road, with the mile markers and all that kind of stuff. They basically had a whole portfolio on me, and I fought it, and I still had to pay a certain fine, but they had a ton of like actual media pictures of me in the driver's seat, pictures of the tag, pictures of the car from the front and the back. They only can take the pictures if the tag doesn't respond, or is it something where they just can't save it?
Back years ago, I don't know now, but as soon as you would go through and it would detect a violation, it would save the photos. So it would take photos prior to. So kind of like with body cam cameras that law enforcement use, right? So when they turn the lights on, and then the cameras and everything activate, it's got a 30-second. It's recording constantly, but it's not recording. It's not saving it, but it'll start back 30 seconds before the lights were activated or the body cam was activated to record and save, right? I think that was the type of tech they had then. Um, and then back then also they were just reading your plate. Now we had red light cameras. These things, man, it was like you were taking a selfie. I mean, you could see exactly who was driving that car, right? Which was like pretty crazy. Some of those were actually removed over a period of time because people were complaining about it. And I'm not s- I'm not saying this is why, but there's a lot of off-duty police officers and a lot of people responding to things and didn't have their lights on, and they would get a ticket in the mail because they ran lights. So there was a lot of controversy on that. Like, yo, I was working, I was responding to a call on an unmarked, blah 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 blah. So a lot of people like that weren't too happy. I don't know if that's exactly why they did away with all of them, but I know there's a lot of people that were complaining about that because there were times when I would be responding to things, depending on the time of day, I might not activate my lights, right? I might pull up to the intersection, look, and then proceed ahead. Or um, sometimes when you're approaching a busy intersection like that, and you're not going to be able to get through with lights and sirens, you turn them off. And then as soon as you see a break, and then you would continue to go and then turn them back on. Well, by that time, those cameras caught you, as running a light, right? Uh, but it was more or less for safety reason. Like you're coming up to a busy intersection, a lot of cars crossing, and you turn the lights on, you're going to cause an accident. Everybody's going to slam on their brakes. So you're better off not to, and then proceed slowly, and then turn them on as you think it's safe now to proceed through. So there's issues and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's different because it wasn't used for what Flock is being, mentioned to be used for. Um, I don't know. I think there's a difference between that. But yeah, the tech is there. But back to like you guys are saying, the terms of service on your apps, well, you agreed to that, right? You clicked it. I didn't agree to these Flock cameras, right? I didn't agree to be tracked everywhere I drive with my car. And I think there's an app where it tells you where all the Flock cameras are. Um, but still, like, you do kind of expect to have somewhat privacy. I mean, you're out in public, there really isn't, as far as First Amendment, but I think there is when it comes to law enforcement agencies, right? But I'm not sure. What do you think, Chuck or Nuts or Pop?
Well,
Whoa.
oh, no, I'm here.
So do you like these cameras? Do you like the idea of these cameras, Chuck? You think it's a good thing for safety
Um,
purposes, or do you a violation of our privacy?
I mean, I've had this conversation with a few people about all kinds of privacy, including all the things that we try to turn off on our phones. But the only reason we're having this conversation is because they're asking permission, and in the end, they don't really have to if somebody really wants to get it. But the cameras, you on the businesses facing out toward public or roadways or anything, it really depends on, I guess, how good you'd have to be able to zoom in because everything gets highly pixelated, right? But the main point that I wanted to make is all of the cars with your cameras all around it, your backup camera, forward camera, you can see an overhead view. Teslas can see everything around them. I mean, as far as being able to or digitally map the entire planet is inevitable and happening very quickly, and live footage all the time if you really needed it. If something was important enough to where everybody unlocked the doors, then pinpoint accuracy at the snap of a finger.
And when it comes to these warrants too, a lot of times just what we were talking about with the body cam or with, even some of these voice activated devices or what have you, it's like they are recording all the time, but they're not really recording because they're not saving. It's looped. Like that's one of the loopholes, no pun intended. But um, like they can really, if they wanted to, I'm sure they'd be able to spy on you, quote unquote, without anybody knowing they're doing it. And then once they come across the damning information, they're like, oh, let me get a warrant. I want the warrant to go back X amount, whatever. Oh, look, we just happened to find the information that we already knew was there because we were already paying attention. So it's like getting retroactive warrants, I'm sure, is a real thing in the intelligence community.
No, you're right. It's just a tricky thing because it could be beneficial, but it could be abused, right? Questions like, should a warrant be required if they're searching for something in an area, or should they just be able to look and be like, "Oh, we identified this vehicle. Let's see if it's at another location. Oh, look, they were there too." Um, you know, is that going to be probable cause because you were driving down a road at a certain time of day? Um, and then the same thing with the data. Is it automatically deleted? Is it saved forever? Should citizens know where the cameras are located? Is there going to be an independent audit of these companies that are keeping all this data? And then, is there going to be limits that it can only be used? You can only coordinate the information in one state, one city. Um, is there going to be an interstate shared database of every place a vehicle travels with these cameras? I mean, that's nuts, right? I don't know. Go ahead, Chuck.
I mean, yeah, I say yes to all of it, but the needing a warrant that sparked a a bit of a boomer memory. I That reminds me of like tapping a phone. And I've seen movies, and I guess it was true enough. They based it on it that you could only listen for like what 45 seconds at a time or whatever into a conversation. But there's your little give. It's the easement. This much privacy, that much we get to watch you. But the cameras on all the cars and the Teslas, man, I have to watch what I say around the car as I walk up to it, and I would do it all the time. If I don't see the red ring of privacy around the the display, I have to watch my mouth. I can't cuss the car out when I smash my fingers on it and things like that. So to going on a test drive, you can't trash talk the car, you know, describe anything about how dirty it is because the customer can play the video back and listen to what you said. Don't ask me how I know.
That's just crazy though, right? Like, especially when you're alone, right? You would
You
think
think you're
you
alone.
like, well, that's like when the Ring cameras came out, people were like, "Oh, I got them in my house, in my living room, in my bedroom, my kitchen, just in case someone breaks in." I'm like, you realize the company can gain access to those cameras at any given time. I don't care what they tell you, they can. Um, so be careful what you're doing in your
The
bedroom
special
with
agencies
your
don't
with
even need that anymore. That's how like good the tech is. Like they have all the declassified files, so which means that the tech that we can talk about that we know about is a certain amount of years old, but they can literally basically turn your entire living space into like a 3D map. And I thought that it was just if you had Wi-Fi and like the higher G Wi-Fi's you had, that's like how they track it. But I was listening to a podcast from a previous CIA operative, And he's like, no, you don't even need Wi-Fi anymore. Like they can use radio waves that are just all around you in the air. They can use cell phone tower signals. They can literally use your own speaker systems on your TVs. Like they can basically shoot frequencies in your house that will bounce around inside, and then they can map all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and basically like a 3D picture tracking all your movement. So like you don't even need to be the one now with the technology. Like they can basically own your life even if you're completely off grid. Like they actually did like a fun little YouTube video where they had somebody that tried, they thought they were completely off grid and that they wouldn't be able to be tracked, and then like a former CIA guy was able to track all of their movements even with minimal technology in the house or on their person. And that was somebody that's been out of the game for 10, 15 years. So like who knows what they have now.
But can they listen?
No,
But can they listen to what he's saying? They can see where he is, but can they
No,
listen?
they literally said you can turn. He said there back then they had technology where they can turn your speakers into microphones. So like the same thing that would basically create the vibration through your speakers to output sound, they can actually switch it to be a receiver. So that way, like just by some type of external signal, they don't even have to get in and plant a bug. They can basically re-engineer the way that like your microphone or the way your speaker system is absorbing sound vibration and turn it into audio. So they can turn your speakers in your house even turned off into listening devices.
yeah, I heard that a while ago. Um, Also, I heard the LED light bulbs have similar capabilities. Then, and I was told by someone who did work in intelligence that consider no matter where you are, any time or day, even if you're out in uh, a secluded area away from any type of lectures, they can hear every conversation you have. And these computer programs, I think it was Auntie said it before, they look for keywords, right? If you say keywords, it puts up a red flag, and then someone has to review it. Um, Whether you're joking, it doesn't matter. It just pops up as a red flag. Um, like, man, I'm sick and tired of this place. I'll blow it up. Boom, flag went up. Flag went up. They're listening to your conversation. Um, and
Guarantee it just
it's
happened
kind of
now. It's
disturbing, right?
probably happened 3 times in this space.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, I know back with Palantir, this was 2012 after Hurricane Sandy, and they had a program that was able to take it could funnel through any email, text message, anything you electronically put in writing. And it had the ability to know if you had multiple email accounts, if you had sent text messages, um, by the way you wrote, the words you used, the punctuation, to determine if you were in violation of fraud when it came to filing for reimbursement, things from FEMA from Hurricane Sandy. And I was sitting there and I was forced to go to this thing. I'm like, I don't want to go to this stupid thing. There's like so much crap going on. I'm like, oh, well, FEMA's putting it on. They have people there from the NSA and law enforcement, and we got to send at least two people. And I was one of the lucky ones. And I'm sitting there going to the guy next to me. I'm like, yo, is this shit even legal? You're telling me they got every single email I ever wrote, no matter what account I used, and they can tell it's me by the way I write, or how I send a text, or how I post something? This shit's legal? I'm like, wow, this is some crazy ass shit. And this was in 2012. Um, and they had the capability because they were catching people with fraud filing for like the same damage assessment for their home with multiple accounts. And they were just scamming, right? But they were able to figure out who it was the same person, even though it was a different name, different email, um, or if it was, they had records of text. And then years later, when Snowden came out, I was like, yo, he's freaking telling the truth. Like, this shit's crazy. Um, yeah, but they got files on all of you. You think they don't have a file on you? They do. Any email, you think you have an anonymous email, anyone who says they're anon, you're not anon. They know exactly who you are. by the way you write, by the way you speak, your punctuation, how you text, the emojis you use. It's all in a database. And at
You
any
know,
given time, they
sometimes
can pull it up.
I think that my agent's really proud of me. I do think of that map sometimes. Like, well, I'm like, I'll just do something and no one's even around to see it. I'm like, yo, that was cool. I wish someone saw that. I'm like, oh, someone did see that. Hey, I hope you like that. Or like last night, like I got this new dog and I'm like, yo, I bet you they're super, super pumped right now seeing this awesome dog that just got picked up. You know, this is on my record now. So anyway, sometimes I like think weird like that. You know, it's kind of like a dark sense of humor, but I'll be like thinking that my secret agent that's following my file just is like giving me a thumbs up, even though, you know, they think I'm not paying attention.
Yo, I've said that before.
Well,
It's like, yo, some of them bangers I've been singing in the car. I need that recording real quick. Just let me get that, John.
you
Have
know
you
what
ever talked
music
to
you
him
listen to?
before? Be like, you know, you like that? Like, sometimes, I don't know. It's a little crazy, but if there is somebody that heard it that time, they probably get a kick out of it.
But think about how many times you took your phone to the bathroom and someone was listening in.
Oh, I'm not kidding around. I made a joke about that once that like I leave my phone like right between my feet, you know, when I'm had some Mexican food. Like just as like here you go. Here's a you got to listen to this, you know, nice little treat for you.
That's crazy. Well, I was like, I never wanted a smartphone, right? So I didn't get my first smartphone until 2015. I mean, I had a BlackBerry through work. I loved that thing. Um, but as far as like my own phone, I had a flip phone. It was just a freaking phone. And I used to be like so paranoid to the point like if I went to the store to buy something, I would take out cash from the ATM because I didn't want anybody to know what I was buying. Um, to put together a profile of purchasing. So like I didn't want them to know I drank coffee all the time. I didn't want to know what kind of cigarettes I smoked. I didn't want them to know if I went to the store and I bought food and I got bananas and I would pay cash with everything. Bro, you can't do none of that anymore. Like you go buy cigarettes now, you gotta show your ID. And I'm like, you have to be 21 and older. I'm like, yo, look at me. Do I look like I'm 20? My shit's all gray. I'm all wrinkly and shit. You know, insane. But now you got to show ID for everything, except to vote. Except to vote. No, let's be fair. It's hard to get ID, so some people need to vote. You shouldn't have to show ID because it's just not fair to those who can't. Bro, where can you go somewhere without having to show ID? Can you go to a doctor without showing ID? Nope. Can you go to a store and buy a pack of beer without? Nope. A pack of cigarettes? Nope. Chewing tobacco? Nope. Bro, it's just insane.
It is
So,
insane.
so what do you do?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I was just going to piggyback on that. It is insane the things that are enforced that don't matter. And then the things that do matter just absolutely do not get anything done about it. But we know the narrative behind it. Maybe not all the way to the origin, root reason why, but what is being used for at least. And man, if enough people wake up, they're in for it.
Yeah, I think we're at a point like we can't even get away from this anymore, right? It's we can't fix it. I mean, I remember as a kid, my mother would be like, "Yo, here's $2. Go ride your bike down to the general store, get me a pack of cigarettes." Right? And you go down there and be like, "Yo, can I have a pack of Marlboro Reds for my mom?" And they'll give it to you. Or like you go down there and like I know like my wife's grandmother, she had a migraine problem, so she would always drink a pint of blackberry brandy. And then years later, I used to tell her, I'd be like, "Yo, grandma, you realize you got the migraine because you drink brandy every day? That's probably why you have a migraine." But my wife would go down to the liquor store when she was like 6 or 7, and buy her grandmother brandy, blackberry brandy, because everybody knew she had migraines and she needed the blackberry brandy. So the liquor store, that shit is all changed now. Like, I'm 50 years old, I got to show ID to buy a pack of cigarettes. It's just
It was
insane.
made like that, man. It's like an inner web of fuck shit. If you can avoid one system altogether, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of and you can't even slip up once because you slip up once and they got it. You know what I mean? So No, I used to be the same way back in the day, dude, and it just got to the point now where there's nothing that can be done about it, man. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So you know the only thing that you can do about it?
Um,
Only good every day. If you're in the spotlight all the time, just be
oh,
good. Do only good every day and put on a show for everybody, and you'll have the best time.
I thought I thought you were gonna say go to the woods, but somebody just said they just caught him in the woods, right? So,
Hey, yeah, you can't just go to the
yeah.
woods. I mean, then you're getting watched and you're uncomfortable. Just play the game, but do good. That's it. Don't do anything that they get you the aha got you moment.
Well, didn't they just prove that with the whole wood thing with the downed
Yeah, you
pilot
can't
in
go
Iran,
anywhere and
and they
hide.
tracked him with his
I'm
heartbeat?
sorry, man.
They tracked him with his heartbeat to his exact location from space?
I heard that. You may have heard it here.
And how many of you have an Apple Watch that gives you your heart rate and your oxygen and
Mm,
how many steps you walked a
no,
day
sir.
and how you slept at night? Yeah, where do you think that data is going?
Here's one that'll mess with you
It's
guys. You guys all have cars. Most of us have cars unless we live in big major cities, right? So, what if I wanted to track your car without putting a sensor, without having to put a sensor in your car? Well, guess what? Your car already has four amazing little sensors that if they get stimulated with, I think it's like a 125 kilohertz signal, they send back some data. And some of that data is like a number, the air pressure in your tires. These are called TPMS sensors. They're tire pressure something. I don't know. It's an acronym. You know,
Tire
it's tire
pressure
pressure.
monitor sensor.
There's sensor something. Yeah. And but if you track these, if you have a thing that's just sending off this signal, you can track people by their TPMS sensors. And there's been some documented cases where people have gotten fancy and found people by tracking everyone in like a whole city with like a flock camera type system, but they just track everyone with their tire pressure sensors. But the problem is it wears out the batteries in people's tire pressure sensors super quick. But but it's interesting.
oh my God, you're making me nervous because I just had two of my tire sensors batteries drained, and it should have lasted for at least another year.
Was it?
Yeah, no one's
Was it?
watching me.
Was it the
That's for sure.
roadside math? The roadside. You park on the street. You know.
Okay, I got
Well,
another one
I
for you
park.
guys. You want another mind bender here that just happened? That came out in the media. I think it was today. I mean, I literally just posted this up before I saw this space, and it made me think of flock. So I don't know if you guys are familiar about. You probably already talked about it, but flock cameras are notorious for having open like ports to the web that hackers for a long time have just scanned these ports and all these kind of domains and just found just open, feeds coming out of these flock cameras. And it used to be like a thing where they would go to wherever they could find an open flock camera and film themselves, like filming themselves on the flock camera, this kind of like meta joke thing, whatever. Okay, well, that happened like a while back. And so now there's this drone company called Skydio that sells a lot of police drones. And apparently, Skydio, this came out in Wired. I posted it on my, I mean, I literally just posted this just a little bit ago, so it's super funny and timely, I guess. Um, they they had the same thing that Flock happened. They had all these ports open, so people were literally watching the live streaming police activities. I mean, you can't. I mean, this Big Brother stuff is so out of control. I mean, you leave back doors. Back doors are there for the criminals too. It's not just for you, police. That's why encryption matters. All these kind of things matter. You know, Electronic Frontier Foundation. Anybody that doesn't know about the EFF, I highly recommend that. Anyways, I'll land the plane there. But yeah, it's a fun one.
Oh, these are all the things that we know about. How many things do they have that we have no clue? Um, that's the scary part. Even like the cars, like OnStar, you're riding around with your wife or your friends, you're joking around. You don't know if they're listening. Um, and then I think they were trying to slide the new bill in that um, they have the ability to listen in and then provide that information and data to advertisers. So, like, Chuck and I were like, man, my bed is just like shot. I need to get a new bed. Next thing you know, I'm getting like an email from like, uh, some type of mattress company. Yo, we have a deal for you. We heard you were talking with Chuck about your bed being hard as a rock and you needed a new bed. I mean, that's just craziness, right? Um, or like, yo, man, I'm really hungry. I wonder if there's a good place to go eat. And then your freaking car pops up on like the nav. Yo, here's a good restaurant. Like that's just creepy, right? I mean, come on. I mean,
So let me ask you a question.
I
Do
don't
you
know.
have a Samsung TV?
No, I got a Sony.
Okay, well, for people who don't know, here's another public service announcement. Your Samsung TV's microphone state default from the factory is on. And you have to go into the service menu by pressing the super secret button combination for yours. I think it's usually like 1412 or mute 1412. It's like, up, up, down, down, left, right, but for Samsungs. And you can go in and turn off like the Bluetooth, the microphone, all this stuff in the service menu. So, yeah, for people who don't want to have a mattress delivered right after they talk about it, maybe that's a step one, I would say, if you have a Samsung TV.
Yeah, but it's the TV, it's the phone. I mean, all
I
of
trust
it.
Apple a lot more than Samsung, that's for
I
sure.
mean, yeah, I give you that. I definitely won't take anything away from that. But
But I think we were talking about earlier that like Chuck was like, do good every day, right? And you shouldn't have a problem. Bro, there is a crime every single one of you commit at least once a day that you're not even aware is a crime. And they just need to find like a reason to go after you and be like, yo, we got this, that, this, that, this,
bro,
this.
around here you have to have
Um,
a permit to collect rainwater. I know what you mean.
so true, right? All right, everyone. It is gonna be 8 p.m. I'm only gonna run a 1 hour space today. I hope tonight was informative. Pay attention to what's going on out there because it does affect your freedom. A lot of things are always disguised to make you want it for security and protection, but there's always a twist and an opposite side to anything that's promises you security and protection. We learned that with the Patriot Act. Everybody was gung ho with that because we were just attacked. But if you're old enough to be around before 9/11, it was a different world, completely different world. And it changed on that day. And a lot of freedoms and things that we took for granted prior to that were then gone. Like airports. Hey, you know what? I feel like flying to Miami tonight. You would just buy a ticket, get in a plane. They didn't ask for ID. Or, you know what? I had a flight to Vegas, I can't go. I would just give my ticket to Goose, and he'd go to the airport and get on a flight. There was no security screening. You just need to have a valid ticket. That was it. That all changed on 9/11. That was one example. Um, yeah, just absolutely crazy. Um, insane.
This is since we are in the conspiracy theory. Was 9/11 planned to eventually get us to this spot in order to put all of those things into play? Because I do agree. After 9/11, dude, it was like a wave hit. Everything changed. Everything, dude. You couldn't fucking, yeah, dude. The cameras started going, more security pumped up everywhere. Um,
It was good for my career, Goose. I ain't gonna lie about that. Offered me a lot of opportunities to get trained. But as far as being conspiracy with the Patriot Act, I'm not going to say it was conspiracy, but right after 9/11, when people were, having a discussion about whether they should allow these, extra powers to law enforcement, there were a few congressmen and senators who were against it, and it was kind of up in the air whether or not it would pass. Then all of a sudden, um, anthrax was delivered to their offices, which was then eventually traced back to Fort Detrick. But yeah, Goose, no conspiracy whatsoever. They did not want to do this in advance and get this pushed through. I'm sure that was all just a coincidence. Um,
And
because
this is why it's important to like speak up about it and voice your opinion about it and kind of like do something about it if possible. Because look at how long ago 9/11 is, how long ago 9/11 was, and look at how we're just like now. It's like, dude, because nobody knew technology was going to get to this degree, right? So back then we're
well,
like, yeah, secure. But now that technology is fucking on point, just like they were saying, dude, they can use your Wi-Fi to spy on you. They can use fucking a light bulb, a speaker, a fucking anything to spy on you, dude. And it's just like, cause but we didn't know, right? And then the one thing that I want to say before you end up, Mav, is, um, the thing that I've been seeing exchanged the most is privacy for convenience. And it all has to do with technology and Samsung and Apple, and you have to put your fucking, you have to put it like if you want actual result, like you were talking about the Apple Watch, Math. If you want actual like data of your body, you're going to put in the information. You know what I mean? So now they have actual real information. And like you said, what are they going to do with that?
no, you're right. You're so right. Well, on that note, we're going to close it. We're going to close it down. Just remember, technology itself isn't inherently good or bad. It impacts depend on how it's governed, who has access, who has the safeguards. Whether you support the flock cameras or you oppose them, one thing is clear: the debate isn't just about the cameras, right? It's about what kind of society we want to build. As the surveillance technology becomes more powerful, we got to think about how much of our rights and our freedoms were given away versus how much the benefit is, for security for all of us. And it's only going to advance more. You add in the AI, tracking you down through these systems now with AI and stuff. Man, they'll know exactly where you've been every single day, how fast you were traveling, all kinds of information. So we're gonna go out tonight with a song.
Type media Johnny, we're Johnny. I wanna John it with you. We're Johnny. Type media coming through. Oh, no silence, no pressure, just building together. Every word got a rhythm and truth. No ego colliding, just voices aligning. Type media bringing the proof. Oh, ain't no trouble when we double down on love. Type media rising up above. We're Johnny, Johnny on Type media. We're Johnny, let the dialogue set us free. We're Johnny, every night we lead the way. We're Johnny, Type media, say what you say. Talk it now. Type media, show you how. We don't fight, we don't bow, we just reason it out somehow. We're Johnny, we're Johnny.